Hello everyone. Well, I had my surgery about 10 hours ago. The surgery began at 8:30 and approximately 8:30, and it ended at about 10:45, almost 11 o'clock. So I am going to, in this video, go over some of the things that I have to do post-op, and also show you kind of what I look like with the garments on. You will see blood in this video. It's not going to be a lot, but it will be like a blood type solution of a mixture of saline, blood, and the anesthetic that they gave me. So I had to drink lots of water the day before the surgery. It was something that I personally had to do because unfortunately the day before surgery, yesterday, I was actually dehydrated. In fact, I was so dehydrated that I was developing a slight urinary tract infection. So I was nervous because I know that the doctor had said you need to be well hydrated for the surgery. So what I ended up doing yesterday at about, I would say starting at 10 a.m., I began drinking a 30-ounce cup of water every 3 hours to kick this UTI and to also hydrate myself. And it worked. I was well hydrated, and I came into the surgery well hydrated. And so I also wanted to mention that at night I woke up about 3 times during the night, and that was to urinate because I drank so much water. And each time that I urinated, I made sure to drink another 30-ounce glass of water, and I did that up until 5 a.m. So 5 a.m. was the last time I had a 30-ounce glass of water, and I had surgery at 8:30 a.m. So it was about 3.5 hours later that I had the surgery. And when you go into the surgery, you actually give a urine sample. So you are going to need to do that. They ask that every woman before or under the age of 60 should give a urine sample so that they can test whether or not you're pregnant. Because if you are, you can't have the surgery. So the surgery lasted from 8:30 a.m. to approximately 11, so 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's 2.5 hours. And they made sure that one of the things that you'll have to know is you have to come into the surgery at 1 hour before the surgery begins. And being that I was the first appointment of the day, what I did is I came in at 7:30. I met with the nurse. She went over a couple of things. She tried to give me an IV for extra nutrition, but I couldn't actually have the IV because she couldn't find my veins. But that was okay. I didn't need it. So she helped me with that. We took more pictures. Discussed any further questions I might have, and she gave me some medication, 2 percosets, 1 ibuprofen, an anti-nausea medication, and a Valium. So at 7:30 I came in, and my procedure was at 8:30, and so I came in, I met with the nurse for that hour. We took pictures, we discussed any questions I had, and I took medication. I also got into the garments that they gave me. And so then the doctor came in at 8:30 and he performed the surgery on me, but right before he performed it, he drew on the various parts of my body that he was going to work on, and that was pretty good because, I just wanted to make sure it was like an assurance that he was going to hit the areas that I really needed, that I really wanted to hit. So after he drew on me, the nurse took me to the surgery room, and she had me take off the robe that they gave me, put it on the ground, then stand on it, and then she washed me in the areas where they were going to do the surgery. She washed me with this like special shampoo, antibacterial shampoo. After she washed me with the shampoo, and I had something on, I had like this like bra thing that they gave me, and I also had these underwear that they gave me. So I wasn't completely naked when she shampooed me. They put me on the table, and right about, I would say, 8:45, the doctor started putting the anesthetic and saline solution into me. Believe it or not, it actually didn't hurt that bad. There was a couple of times when it kind of felt like pinches. I would probably equate them to maybe the feeling of, I wouldn't even say the feeling of getting a tattoo. It wasn't even as bad as, you know, getting a tattoo. So he put the saline solution into me, and that took a while. I want to say that took a really long while, actually, probably longer than the surgery itself. And you can feel it going into you. That's the funny part. Even though you're sedated, or, you know, you're pretty much almost knocked out, you're still awake. But I mean, honestly, I could barely feel, with the medication I was on, I could barely feel it. Just like little jabs and pinches every once in a while. I would kind of like, ooh, okay, ow, that kind of hurts. But that was it. And then they did that to my front in the certain areas that they were going to work on, and then they also did that to my back. All right, and so after they did that, they then started their procedure with their liposuction instrument, laser lipo. And it was funny because while they were doing it, I mean, they had the music playing, they played classical music, and we were talking. We weren't really like chatting or anything, but he was asking me throughout the process that, you know, are you okay? How are you feeling? And I think it's also that he didn't want me to be asleep. You know, he didn't want to do this while I was asleep. So he kept talking to me. Now, it appeared as though I was asleep. The whole time I had my eyes closed, and I had a smile on my face, and I probably did look asleep, because that medication really was awesome. I mean, as far as the surgery is concerned, I honestly could sleep through it. I could if I wanted to, but I knew I had to be awake. So I answered his questions, you know, hey, does that hurt, or and things like that. And every once in a while I'd say, oh yeah, that hurts, you know. But like I said, it was like maybe a pain for about, I would say 6 or 7 seconds, a jab, you know, a hard jab, and then it would just go away. And then he'd go to another area, and maybe every once in a while it'd be another hard jab, and I would like, ooh, you know, but it would go away. All right, so now I am going to show you what I look like. Okay, so they need you to bring dark clothing to the appointment. I just wore the dark clothing myself. I wore it to the appointment, so I didn't have to bring extra clothes. And it's not just dark clothing, but it's dark and loose clothing. And because it's dark, they ask that it be dark because you're going to get it saturated with blood. You're going to be leaking for the next few days. That mixture of blood and saline and anesthetic. So that's why it has to be dark, because you're going to probably stain your clothes if it's not. So what I did is I wore these items to the surgery appointment, just kind of a long cardigan. It's cold here. It was snowing a little this morning on the way to the appointment, so that's why I'm, you know, dressed so warm. And then I wore this pajama top. You know, it's just a thick sweatshirt. And then I also wore my pajama bottoms, and they're nice and, you know, loose, right?